Today's More and Conley Football Show is brought to you by the NFL's official European store. The NFL's official European store offers 100% official products, free standard delivery, next day delivery, and you can get jerseys, clothing, headwear, 2 t-shirts for £35. I got those. They actually weren't bad. The NFL shop in Europe, I tell you, it's not the widest selection of products, but they do get good deals when you can come and get them. So I say, find your team. They do these helmet ones now. It's like the helmet stripping. It's pretty cool. I bought a Patriots one. 2 t-shirts for 35 quid. You can also get some accessories, and they have non-stop sales. Go to thereadoptional.com/NFL shop. You'll get 15% off your first order. That's thereadoptional.com/NFL shop for the official NFL European store.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Moore and Conley Football Show. So glad you could join us once again. Conference Championship weekend is over. Oh, yes! And now we get to go deep into it and talk about what went down. My name is Tom Moore, your humble host, and joining me, as always, my good friend on a special day for him. Oh, yes, we are celebrating his birth. It's Ollie Conley. Ollie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Tom. The birth of me and the birth of our new site.
The birth of the new site. Tell us about the new site.
The new site is up, thereadoptional.com. People can go and read it, check it out, see what they like, check out the new podcasts, get the one feed. Hall of Fame listeners, I implore you, go check out the Moore and Conley Football Show page on the new site. You will enjoy all kinds of stuff for people to read.
Exactly. I do say, if you are in the Moore and Conley Hall of Flame, sorry, woo, on fire, or if you want to be in the Hall of Fame, go and check it out, thereadoptional.com, find the Moore and Conley Football Show, that little area, and you will be excited. Oh, yes! And tell us what you think. Hit us up, and hit us both up for questions and whatever you want to do. It's at Thomas Moore 27. It's at Ollie Conley. And if you want to email the show and ask us a question as well, you can email us at contact@thereadoptional.com. Please keep doing that. Today's show, we're going to get into it straight away. We're going to go straight into the games, of course, the 2 conference championship games. Then we'll go to listeners' questions at the end. Not much news going on, Pro Bowl and things. We could talk about that at will. But before we do that, Ollie,
yes,
seeing as it's such a special day, I wanted to celebrate your birthday in a little bit more detail.
Oh, wow. How?
By telling you about the significance of the 26th of January.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I'm excited by this.
Okay, first of all, key events. I pulled out some key events from history that happened on the 26th of January. Okay, First of all, in 1837, Michigan became the 26th United State.
Oh, wow, I love Michigan. I worked for Western Michigan once upon a time. It's almost like fate.
There you go. There's the first one. This is a great one. This is no comment on you, Ollie. In 1962... Ranger 3, the probe, was launched, and it was launched to study the moon. Unfortunately, later it missed the moon by 22,000 miles.
That is like me shooting for high hopes and just missing catastrophically.
In 1998, Bill Clinton, talking about Monica Lewinsky, uttered the famous words, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
Ah, it's so funny.
Hopefully you won't utter those same words at some point.
Too late.
And then finally, in terms of events, in 2004, obviously tragic, but actually linking to what's happened with whales having washed up recently on Skegness Beach, a whale exploded in Taiwan due to the buildup of gas.
Exploded?
Apparently so. Now, I didn't say anyone was killed, but I'm just saying that it exploded.
Yes.
There you go. Now, Ollie, you share your birthday with. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
I love doing this. I encourage anyone to check out their birthday on Wikipedia and see what happened the day they were born and see who else was born. So here you go. What was quite disturbing is quite a lot of ex-mob bosses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least 3 or 4.
Irish Catholic ones or?
Italian, American, those kind of mob bosses. But on a lighter note, in 1905, the real Maria von Trapp was born.
Oh, cool.
1925, Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe's favourite actor.
There you go. In 1931, this is a great one. You've never heard of him because I've never heard of him, that's for sure. Huey Piano Smith, who was a pianist. Now, the reason I mentioned this, 'cause I had an issue with this. If you're a pianist, you surely could come up with something better as a moniker, as an alias than Huey Piano Smith.
What are you thinking?
Well, I don't know, but it's like
what do they call the little things they play? The keys or tabs or what do they call them?
Keys.
Yeah, you got to put that in, but keys in. That sounds better.
keys, that is better. Or you could say, for example, who's Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
You wouldn't call him Jimmy Guitar Hendrix.
That's what we should do.
Yeah, you call him Tom Football Brady. Oh, there's Johnny Football, isn't there? But that's a bit different. Okay. 1958, Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh.
61, Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, wait, the greatest.
And here, another special one, Jose Mourinho, 63.
That is 4 people who would be interesting at dinner. Me, Mourinho, DeGeneres and Gretzky.
And of course, on the keys, Huey Piano Smith.
And Von Trapp.
Yeah, exactly. And then this, possibly playing the after party. The reason I said this because I thought it was a funny name. In 1971, Norwegian artist and producer, Death Prod.
Death Prod?
Exactly.
Artist and producer as in, like, that sounds like
music
metal.
artist. Yeah, music artist. 1973, Brendan Rodgers.
Oh.
And then
Mourinho
to conclude this segment, before we get on to the games, Ollie, in 2008, the 2010 World Cup predicting octopus, Paul the Octopus.
And we're both so right with our predictions.
Exactly. You are a predictor. I am a predictor. You are better. You're more like Paul, because I think you called these games better. Let's get straight to them. Play a tune, Ollie. So the 2 games that went down on January the 24th, well, we'll get to them chronologically, and we will start with the Patriots and the Broncos. And I tell you what, there is an echo in history, Ollie, because in AD 41, Roman Emperor Caligula, known for his eccentricity and sadistic despotism, he is assassinated by his Praetorian Guard. And just as Caligula was assassinated, Ollie, and taken down, so was Tom Brady in dramatic fashion. Oh, the similarities are just there, Ollie. Brady,
yeah, I
Belichick,
think
Caligula.
I think Caligula was assassinated in a similar way to what you're referring to with Clinton and Lewinsky, if I remember correctly.
I am going to take a look at this now while you tell me what you thought of the Patriots-Broncos game.
Well, this came down to, I kind of feel like we called this, not the result, but we said this is where this game was going to be decided, as everyone did. It was going to be this offensive line versus this defensive line. The Patriots simply had no answer. In fact, they fired their offensive line coach today, not just because of this performance, but in part because of what happened on Sunday. Brady hit more times than any quarterback since they've been keeping the quarterback hit stat, and they just really had no chance to get into their offense. Von Miller destroyed Marcus Cannon. On the other side, you had DeMarcus Ware, who was just a menace. And Wade Phillips outcoached Josh McDaniels by having Malik Jackson and Derek Wolfe split wider than you normally would have. They played them both at 3 technique rather than having a 1 tech and a 3 tech. So wider splits for the interior players. It created havoc on the outside. It meant they struggled to get any kind of double team. And I thought Josh McDaniels coached a very poor game, given that we just had a great discussion about him last week. As we mentioned this with Mike McCarthy a few weeks ago, the persistence of saying, okay, we can't avoid the rush, so let's keep 5 guys eligible and we'll throw to the open guy. That was their game plan going into it. Rather than giving help from a tackle or tight end, rather than giving help from a running back, they didn't give help all day. And when you do that, you've got to get the ball out quickly, but the Broncos were able to get pressure by just rushing 4. They could drop enough guys into coverage and still cover all those eligible players. So I thought it was Whit Phillips out-coaching Josh McDaniels. And Brady, let's be fair, played well under the circumstances of the pressure, but also made 1 or 2 bad throws.
Turns out Caligula just got stabbed, but I'll try and find something interesting by the end of this Patriots-Broncos
I think it was Nero, now that I think about it.
Probably. I'll look at Nero as well, see if I can find anything. But, Ollie, what I noticed about this game is exactly what you said. This just seemed to be a defense just outplaying an offense, and therefore, on the side of the ball where it was the Patriots defense, which looked a little bit banged up, and then the Broncos offense, that's where the battle really took place. And Manning took advantage early. So maybe we could talk a little bit about how Manning performed, because everybody going into this game was calling, for Manning's head, they were saying, you play Brock Osweiler, he's old, he's past it, whatever it was. And there is still some credence to that, even after this performance, and even after they've got to the Super Bowl. What did Manning do well to get this victory?
Well, they did a quality job in the first drive. I thought it was a strange game plan from the Patriots, though I kind of understood it. They played a bunch of soft coverage. If people remember going back to the game, they weren't jamming receivers at the line of scrimmage. Now, that'll surprise some people because of Manning's inability to throw to tight windows, given the diminishing arm strength. I think they were trying to bait him and come up with a pick and turnovers rather than just halt drives. And once they decided to start jamming at the line of scrimmage and get more creative up front and start coming after Peyton Manning, the Patriots defense was the second best unit on the field, and they shut down the Broncos after those after that first scoring drive, the Broncos didn't have a drive over 50 yards, and their second touchdown came on an interception that was inside the Pats' own 20 because Von Miller picked off Tom Brady. So Manning had a good first drive. They were able to isolate Jamie Collins a couple of times, who was banged up before the game, just didn't look himself and looked poor in coverage. They were able to get Owen Daniels on a couple of scores. So very good first drive for Manning, but after that, they couldn't get anything really going at all. And it is funny how much credit he's been given for the win, and it's not just me bashing Peyton Manning. He would say this himself if you asked him, but that was nowhere near a quarterback win. That was a defense win. And yeah, I'd say almost all the defense, a great first drive, his best first drive in over a year, easily this season. But after that, if you just go and look at the numbers, they couldn't get a single drive going after that.
What about Gronkowski in this game, Ollie? Because there were so many occasions where he stepped to one side and he was on the sideline after making a big play. And I know that happens quite a lot. You know, you get a bit gassed. You're high up there, obviously, at Mile High as well. He didn't look himself, Ollie.
I thought he was a monster, I think.
No, I thought he was a monster, but I thought...
Well, he came in... Yeah, I know what you're saying. He came in with a bunch of back problems, and it seemed to be heightened throughout the game, and he was getting triple teamed at times, and I thought he was getting frustrated and came out the game a couple of times, and maybe some of the players going low on him and that narrative during the week could have got somewhere into his head, and he was getting massaged at the side of the field. But when time comes calling for Hall of Famers, this is why Hall of Famers are such great players. And I understand the analytics say, and sometimes I side with that there's no difference in the quote-unquote clutch, and people always try and say that doesn't exist, and Brady's just a good player, therefore it looks like he performs better in the clutch. That's the analytics argument. But man, you watch these games and it's so hard to argue that there isn't such a thing. We get 2 fourth downs. We know where the ball is going. It's 4th and season, not just 4th and 10, not just 4th and goal. Season on the line. Brady makes one of the best throws of his entire career to Gronkowski. Double covered, he brings in the catch. 4th and season, Brady makes a throw, just throws into double coverage. Gronkowski somehow gets it, brings it down, scores a touchdown. That was a Hall of Fame throw and Hall of Fame catch from 2 Hall of Fame players. I don't know how you can try and, you can't define it clearly, but to try and defy there's such a thing, Mark Sanchez doesn't make that throw. They were incredible plays. I thought he was, down the stretch, just unbelievable. Given that we knew where the ball was going, I thought he was terrific.
Interesting in this one, Ollie. Game changer, really impactful. 2.5 sacks. He had 4 solo tackles, 6 total tackles, and 2 tackles for a loss. Von Miller, and a free agent, Ollie, and he was all over the show. Now, what do you think is going to... first of all, comment on Von Miller, but also, what do you think may happen with this guy? Because the Broncos aren't going to want to let him go anywhere. But what if he wins a Super Bowl there? But perhaps if they do it, I'm not saying that's going to happen. We'll do our predictions, obviously, when we get towards the Super Bowl time. But say if they do win, and he says, Peyton Manning's getting old, you know what? Let's go somewhere else and try and win another one. Does that sound like a logical thing to do?
No, I mean, first of all, I think he might be restricted because he got suspended for some time. This time he drives me insane. This is part of the reason why we launched a new website, because you get these top 20 free agent lists, just wholly unrealistic. There is no way in hell, and this happens every year, that Josh Norman gets to free agency, that Von Miller gets to free agency. First of all, you franchise tag him if you need to. You can transition tag him if you want, and someone's going to give you 2 first-round picks. So this guy isn't leaving the building. They'll get a long-term extension sorted. They've already got Derek Wolfe locked up. Malik Jackson's a free agent. Now, can they bring Malik Jackson and Von Miller back? That's more of an intriguing question. And if they decide to bring back Malik Jackson and Miller, do they then have to make a decision on DeMarcus Ware, who'll be 35, and he may just walk away himself if they win a Lombardi Trophy? So yeah, there's no way he leaves. There's no way Muhammad Wilkerson leaves New York. There's no way Josh Norman leaves Carolina. So if you start reading these list fans and get excited that they might come to Jacksonville, it just isn't happening. You got to start looking further down. Maybe someone like Alshon Jeffrey might genuinely be available, but there's no way you'd let... Von Miller is, just as a pure pass rusher, you've got Justin Houston and Von Miller as pure speed rushers. They're the 2 best in the game. You don't let that guy walk out.
No, and by the way, Caligula, he actually turned his horse, we didn't turn him into it, but he appointed him a priest.
It's just a regular sane guy. That's probably around the time they were discovering acid and all that stuff. They didn't just know what it was.
Yeah, probably. He was going to make him a consul, but he thought that was ridiculous, so he only made him a priest.
Got limits.
Exactly. So what do we glean from this, Ollie? I mean, taking a step back, thinking about the legacies of these 2 guys, Brady and Manning, because, that's what a lot of the talk was going in. I know you probably don't like talking about that kind of stuff. I don't think it really impacts either of their legacies.
No.
And I think if Manning, gets to the Super Bowl and wins, there may be an impact. It doesn't impact Tom Brady, but if Manning obviously has got to the Super Bowl and he loses, then obviously it's a different conversation.
Yeah, I do laugh at those kind of narratives. People talking about how Brady's I think 1 of 4 against the Manning family or something like that in championship games. Yeah, he also has 4 Lombardi trophies. They only have 3 combined. It is what it is. Brady is if not the best of all time, at least the same level as Joe Montana in everyone's eyes. And even if you're a hater, you're just going to admit that as well. And Manning is what he is. I think his legacy is set as well as being in that conversation to be in the top 5 of all time. But if the game was on the line and you really had to give it to one player, you would go Montana or Brady. And I think that's kind of a fair assessment. It's not a knock on the guy. He's an all-time great. But this isn't his rodeo. This is Von Miller's. This is the defense. This is Wade Phillips. This is just, they are winning, and it sounds harsh, but they are winning in spite of Peyton Manning. Now, in this game, he was probably a net neutral in this game. But for the rest of the season, they've been winning largely in spite of him. I would love to see him, by the way, go out with a win. I think it'd be really cool. I love the Elway story. I would love to see Peyton Manning go out with a win.
That's really interesting perspective as well. He's just got to ride this defense and try and take it to a victory, which would be great.
Who cares? Think about Ben Roethlisberger. No one ever cites that he was god-awful in that first Super Bowl and wasn't great all season. They just say he has 2 because Ben became a great player. When they look back in the annals of history, it'll be Peyton has 2 and he was great. That's just the way these things done. They are dumbed down. If people wanted to dig into it, they could do, but that's just the way these things go. I don't think he will happen, and we'll get to that. I think he's probably watching that Seahawks tape and a bit worried about this Carolina team, but if he does do it, then yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, fair play to him. And, he will be remembered as great. And that's what we've all got to remember. I think a lot of people are critical of Peyton Manning. I included. I sent a tweet out before the games actually started. Let's destroy Peyton Manning and make him retire. Because I'm just a bit bored of him, to be honest. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate his greatness and that he was a great quarterback. And he always will be. Now, as we say, he's more of a detriment. And like this week, as Ollie says, he was probably a net neutral impact on that Broncos team. But, he is a great. Final question on this game, Ollie. As a Patriots fan, I'm just interested to see how you take this because you've had a lot of success as a team. And it must still sting as a loss because any loss, in the semi-final, essentially, that's got to sting. How did this impact you? I mean, how did you feel waking up Monday?
I was fine Monday. Sunday night was a bummer. But I also love Cam Newton, so that kind of helped me get over it. It's a weird thing because this was one of the most devastating losses because they don't lose that often. And when they lose, there's usually a reason for it. In this one, they miscoached. They badly coached this game. Bill Belichick didn't didn't kick the kickoff like he normally does. That didn't really come back to haunt them, but it kind of set the tone for the day that Belichick was coaching somewhat differently. Like I said, I didn't like the offensive game plan, didn't like the defensive game plan they initially came out with, and I didn't like some of the decisions on 4th down to not kick a field goal and to go for it and to design some of the plays they did on 4th down. So I wasn't happy with the coach performance, and I felt like the Broncos had the best unit on the field, so they kind of deserved to win. And when you've been to 5 straight conference championships, it's not as devastating. I mean, it was a bad loss, and it stinks losing to Peyton Manning. It would have been somewhat fun to have ended the career, as evil as that sounds. It would have been nice for Brady to get one over on him and end the career and go to 7 Super Bowls, which is insane itself. But when you go 5 title games in 5 years, it's pretty impressive.
That is true. Let's move on now, Ollie, because on the 24th of January in 1908, the first Boy Scout troop was organised in England by Robert Baden-Powell. An organisation and an institution was born.
Yeah.
And perhaps we've seen the birth of another one with the Carolina Panthers, who destroyed the Arizona Cardinals 49-15. And that's probably the best introduction to a game I've ever done. Ollie, we did not see this coming.
The People's Team taken down by Cam. And I tried to tell you all for years now. Nothing,
I thought I told you.
Nothing will stop this guy. Nothing. He's going to win at everything he does in life. He wins everywhere, at every level. He's going to win the MVP. He's going to win the Super Bowl because that's what he does. And I was thinking about this as I wrote the introduction piece for the site today. When, to me, Aaron Rodgers there's this weird thing around him where he's the most talented guy in my mind, and he can do things no one else can do. And yet there's something that's unsavory about it. Like, it feels like there's something missing there when there shouldn't be, which I think is just team success. And with Cam Newton, I'm starting to think, is he the most talented guy? He might be the most indefensible guy in the league now. He makes all the throws Rodgers can make for the most part. No one can make that Hail Mary in Arizona, I grant that. But then Aaron can't run the same way in the straight line speed that Cam Newton can, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't open up the run game in the way he runs that Cam Newton does. So you start looking at it, and this isn't just an MVP season. This is a guy who is indefensible and is breaking the mold of the position there's a great stat going around, Tom, of his height and weight is greater than the average of the Arizona defenders that played on Sunday. So if you average out the cornerbacks and linemen, he is bigger and thicker than the average of those players, which is just remarkable. He plays quarterback. It's insane. He's just unstoppable. I've loved the guy forever. And to see him go on to a Super Bowl and people talking about, will the stage be too big? Will Cam needs to be great on the stage? He's been doing this his entire life. Everywhere he goes, he wins, and he wins national titles. And he doesn't win. He wins big, undefeated seasons or close to undefeated in the NFL and with an MVP.
He is the most relaxed quarterback I've ever seen. I mean, I thought Aaron Rodgers was relaxed, and he does have a lot of chill, Rodgers, but you see him getting frustrated. You don't really see it at all with Cam. Even when he is frustrated, he doesn't seem that frustrated. He's just got this poise that I've not seen in a quarterback that young. Well, I'm not sure I've ever seen it, Ollie. And it's the kind of confidence that just grows within an organisation. And you can see the way with their silly celebrations and the things that they do and they all come together. But you can see how that confidence permeates the entire organisation. And without a shadow of a doubt, if this team didn't have Cam on, they'd be nowhere, Ollie.
There's no doubt that anyone who watched that game the weekend saw that the Cardinals came out tight. I don't know how much the finger injury affected Carson Palmer, who just had a complete meltdown in this game. There's no way to put it. It was worse than the full Jake Delhomme. It was its own new category. And I don't know how much that impacted. He tried to say it didn't, and I give him credit for not taking excuse if this was Manning. It would have been leaked all over the place, like we've talked about before, that he had, spinal surgery or something the week of the game. So I give Carson Palmer credit for that. But back to the Carolina thing, yeah, you just notice as soon as they came out, they are so relaxed, and that was part of home field advantage, probably. Though they'd be the same on the road, I imagine. But his coolness, the dancing, the celebrating, the dabbing, the giving the ball to the fans, it really made it feel like just another game. And I think that's what they've been doing with that thing, which is why Ron Rivera's never jumped on him for celebrating the Superman, because they were just breathing that culture of, this is what we do. If you want us to not do it, stop us. And you just keep doing it, and it becomes just repetitive and like muscle memory that, we score touchdowns, we give the ball away, we get hyped, we take pictures on the sidelines. And so what's the playoffs? It's just what we do. And I love it.
And it's an exciting team because we all know when Carolina went to the Super Bowl, the last time they went there, it wasn't an exciting team. It was Jake Delhomme. It was just kind of, I'm excited about this Panthers team, and I'm all on board for them to win now in terms of I want them to win in this final showdown. But moving to the Arizona side of the field, Ollie, what went wrong? Because this is a team that had its own mojo, had its own moxie, had its own swagger. Don't know why I went into that accent, but it did. And it just wasn't there on Sunday.
It did. Their heart and soul, their team was ripped out. They lost Tyrann Mathieu. I don't think that's an excuse for losing this game. He was with them in presence, but not on the field. You can't compete in any game in the NFL when your quarterback turns over. I think it ended up being 7 times total. That just is what it is. And the Panthers came out. They were clearly the more dominant team up front inside. The weakness of the Cardinals, if you had one weakness, is just having that pure edge rusher, trying to find that guy. And Marcus Golden has been great for them this year as a rookie, but they need to try and find that guy. And then they can't turn the ball over on offense, like no one can do. And you see someone like Larry Fitzgerald, who got a whole week of smoke being blown up his ass of how amazing he is and how he's going to the Hall of Fame, because he is, and it was fair enough. He's had 24 drop catches in his career, and then he has 2 at the weekend. So they came out tight. They didn't look themselves, and Carson Palmer threw multiple picks. That sounds like, typical coach speak analysis here on the post-game show, but it was true. There was no doubting, if you rewatch that game, there was a relaxed feeling with the Panthers that permeated into the game, and with the Cardinals, they weren't comfortable with Palmer going out there. You could see it, and when things started to go bad, people started to look around at each other, and it just got worse from there on out.
Interesting. Maybe an experience. We know, Patrick Peterson muffed that punt return. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's something he will learn from and get stronger from. But what about Carson Palmer? What about his future? Because this guy ain't no spring chicken.
He's not. I mean, he just reminded us he's Carson Palmer. He's been an MVP candidate all year. That's fair enough. Probably second on most people's ballots, and that's fair enough. They have to try and find a long-term plan. I wouldn't want to move on from him straight away. I mean, look at this weekend. 3 of the quarterbacks were over 36. Peyton, Brady, Palmer. So you've got another 2 years, you'd hope. Time to find a succession plan, dig into the draft, get a guy cheap in free agency you maybe think's got some talent, who's been buried on someone's roster. And you have there, fortunately, one of, if not the best quarterback coach in the league, and Bruce Arians is your head coach, who's going nowhere anytime soon. So nothing to worry about for them. And if they find a young quarterback, they're able to then distribute some of the money that needs to go to them defensively and some of their young pieces, and kind of their percentage of the cap will figure itself out. So they need to try and get Matthew locked up. They have Peterson locked up. Those are the two key cogs on defense. Then try and find that QB for the future.
It's interesting. I really worry about the Cardinals because it's kind of like you see these windows and you see these. It's not even a window, Ollie. You just see these opportunities and their moments in time. And it's how I reflect slightly on the Packers as well. With not this year, but last year, the way they blew it against the Seahawks. I feel like that was their moment in time and they lost it. And you know what? It's hard to get to that position and get to the Super Bowl at all, let alone obviously the conference championship game. So you have these moments in time. And I feel like this may be one that's going to haunt the Cardinals for a few years to come.
Yeah, we've spoken about this throughout the playoffs where I always rail against their building for each season. Now, you usually get a couple of teams like that, maybe just one team. The Seahawks, they built their Super Bowl and they went back to back. Carolina has clearly, each year they've gone deeper in the postseason. They've just got better, added some pieces. Cam has got better individually, and then they've just got better as the teams around them have weakened. But for the most part, the playoffs is filled with either one dominant team who's been there for a while, the Patriots in the AFC, the Seahawks in the NFC, and then you get these teams who it just kind of all figured itself out that, yeah, the coaching staff was correct, the scheme was correct, they found the right free agents, the right undrafted guys made impacts, the quarterback was having a good year, and you'll see San Diego will do that one year and they look great, or Arizona this year. Sometimes it just isn't sustainable to keep it going, and then the other team will come in. If the Rams hit a home run with a quarterback this offseason, there's no reason why they couldn't go and win the NFC West next year. So it's going to be a tough one for the Cardinals. Just that division itself, the Seahawks, the Rams with Gurley and Aaron Donald, LA as a market, Chip Kelly and with the 49ers, who knows how that's going to go. So it's not going to be easy for them, but they certainly have a bunch of talent and a good coaching staff.
Okay, there you go. Ollie, that's it, my friend. I mean, there's nothing really more to talk about with these. It's over, and a sad end for both the Cardinals and the Patriots.
Absolutely, and just one quick shout to Thomas Davis, who was a complete monster in this game. That whole Carolina linebacking core is just outrageous. I hope that he won't be 100% because he's got all kind of broken bones in his body, but that's the sort of guy who he is that franchise and has been that franchise, him and Steve Smith for so long. They get to the Super Bowl, you just want that guy to at least be able to play and play at a level where he can contribute.
Okay. How about we get some listeners' questions, Ollie?
Let's do it.
Okay, you can find us at ThomasMoore27. Of course, you can find Ollie at Ollie Conley. Remember, you can also get in touch with us, contact at thereadoptional.com. And please check out thereadoptional.com as well as rating us on iTunes if you can. Remember, if you're a Hall of Fame member or you want to get in the Hall of Fame, we may have another induction coming up soon. Woo! To be found out, but you want to check out our page on thereadoptional.com. Anyway, on to the tweets. First of all, Chris West at Chris_J_West. He says, what's been the all-time biggest postseason upset? Denver a surprise, but not sure if it's the number one. Winning at home can't count as an upset, surely. Hashtag MCFS. Please use the hashtag MCFS. Ollie, that's a really good question.
I think it's pretty clearly the Giants over the Patriots in the Super Bowl. You had a team gunning for greatness in history in 19-0. That was the most explosive offense in NFL history with Moss and Brady, two Hall of Famers, and a very good defense as well. And then comes in the NASCAR package to disrupt them, and similar to the weekend, they put Brady under a ton of pressure. They complete one of the flukiest plays in football history, and they win a Super Bowl.
That's up there. I'm going to throw out another one, Ollie, of relatively recent history. Hosting a game, and everyone was outraged that this was the Seahawks before they really got to where they were as the Seahawks. The original beast mode Marshawn Lynch against the Saints. That game where they beat the Saints, Ollie.
Can I just say as well, there's a bunch of things in NFL narrative and storyline world right now that I class as chicken and egg, and I think the common consensus has it the wrong way around. I see today Michael Florio at Pro Football Talk talking about the importance of the 1 seed once again, saying, look how Denver got the 1 seed, and therefore, if the Patriots had it, then they would have won. I think people have it the wrong way around. They are the 1 seed for a reason, not teams trying to get the 1 seed and the 1 seed helps them. They have the 1 seed, which means they're really, really good, and they're better than everyone in their conference, therefore they beat everyone. Now, it doesn't always happen that way because playoffs are one-off games, but I don't think it's you need to get the 1 seed. The best team gets them, and therefore they're really good. The 1 seed doesn't help them. They're just really good already.
Yeah, it's a really good point as well. It's like ipso facto, chicken and egg. Fraser Robertson at Fraser's Strown. He says, using the hashtag MCFS, do you think the Chargers still regret letting Drew Brees go? Phil Rivers ain't win a Super Bowl anytime now. Great grammar, first of all. But I think it's a great point, Fraser. I don't think they regret it because they got a hell of a lot out of Phil. It just didn't happen that way. But it's a good question. We can all look at things, 2020. Hindsight is 2020. And I'm not really sure that they would regret it as such.
Yeah, I mean, he had the shoulder problem, and who knows what would have happened. That could have gone multiple ways. It just happened to work out in New Orleans. So when he happened to get with Sean Payton, they happened to get that loaded roster and go and win a Super Bowl. Philip, it's not like you moved on from Drew Brees and ended up with Blaine Gabbert. You know what I mean? You ended up with another guy who's probably going to the Hall of Fame. So I think they'd be fine with it. You also have to remember there's a period there where they're not paying Rivers as much as they're paying Breeze, which is when they have their really good seasons, because they don't have to pay him as much. They can load the rest of the roster.
Okay, that's true. We also got another question from Fraser saying, would the Panthers be a good place for Calvin Johnson next season? He would improve the receiver core. Personally, I would take the approach now as don't go out after any big free agents, Carolina. You know, if you're going to win this, which, there's a good likelihood they will win the whole thing. If they do, load up with the talent, sign your good players, and, you're going to get Kelvin Benjamin back as well, hopefully in some sort of fitness. And you just build from there, and you can create a dynasty. You don't have to do it by going out and getting a Calvin Johnson this time. Maybe in the future, but not this time.
Yeah, and they've not built their team that way. They built it. They had to build through the draft because they were in such cap hell when David Gettleman came in. And he's from that Giants tree, so that is the way they believe of the draft and develop. That being said, if a guy like Calvin Johnson's available, to hell with the draft and develop. Calvin Johnson is one of the best targets in the league. You have Cam Newton, you're getting Kelvin Benjamin back. You're saving money all over the place with some of these young players, particularly the interior of your offensive line, which is a key. Your defensive line, K1 Short and Star Lotulelei, making like $5 million between them. They're $25 million a pair players. So you saved all that money. If it's a 1-year deal, you can get Calvin to renegotiate the contract, so you take away some of the guaranteed money. Absolutely make that deal. You're going to re-sign Josh Norman this year. You're going to have Newton's contract kicking next year. If he's available and it works in your cap, you make that deal.
Okay, next, Will Davis at not only a hard track.
Aha.
He says, hello, new at Read Optional MCFS. Very good, Will. That's why you're in the Hall of Fame.
That's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. If Sunday's teams were to swap defenses, do you think the results change? What about the Super Bowl? Interesting. So if the Patriots had the Broncos defense...
that's game over.
It's game over.
Yeah. They probably went 19-0 in that.
What about if the Panthers and the Cardinals swap defenses?
I don't think that'd be that much different, but I have such faith in Cam Newton now, possibly, and the speed with which the Carolina plays. There's just no way that offense, even Carolina's offense with their playmakers, could keep up with the speed of the defense. But I believe wholly in Cam. I'm going to go down with Cam. I think he can overcome pretty much anything at this point.
And if you take both of the defenses and switch them round in the Super Bowl, I think whichever way round they are, I'm favouring the team from Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun to watch Peyton have to play that defense. Then we can start deciding who we're going to distribute the wins to.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Millet, a.k.a. at Callum J. Woods, he says, who is more physically dominant, Calais Campbell or Cam Newton?
Cam Newton to me by a great distance. You look at not just position comparative, but like I said, if you average out the size, the height and weight of the Arizona defense, Cam is bigger than the average size of the starting one that played on Sunday. So to me, he's the most physically dominant. He's the most physically imposing. He has the nice smile. I think that freaks people out when he's so big, and he can run quicker than Calais Campbell.
Daniel Negus has sent me a few things at DannyBoy1704. First of all, he says, do you think Denver will be able to keep Malik Jackson and Von Miller? We've talked about that already. If not, where is Jackson in the list of most valuable free agents? Well, as Ollie said, we've got to wait for the dust to settle. But if, let's say, Jackson did hit free agency, Ollie, he'd be a pretty sought-after commodity.
He'd be a top 4 guy, and I think you look at somewhere like Jacksonville where they're crying out for an edge rusher, and then suddenly you can get Dante Fowler and you pair him alongside Malik Jackson. Now you've really got something going in an AFC South that's highly winnable. Everyone would chase Malik Jackson if he's available, depending on price.
Now, he's also sent me a tweet from someone saying, is there any doubt that the Seattle Seahawks are the most annoying fans in the world? Now, I can't really read this. Oh, right. Okay. This is what it says from a Seahawks fan. Cam Newton is one of the most unprofessional, unsportsmanlike individual on the face of the planet. So I say for the 2016-17 season, when the Panthers come to play in Seattle, he should be banned from entering the stadium. This should teach him to put his arrogance into check. This is a letter to the Seahawks saying, ban Cam Newton from CenturyLink Field. Oh, God. This is, and then people saying he's not a good role model for kids. I don't get why he's not a good role model for kids.
You know absolutely why they don't like Cam Newton. We didn't even have to discuss it. You know why they don't like Cam Newton. What? Cam Newton, he's not the one out there electrocuting dogs. He's not the one out there beating women. People turn up to the game. He's the most entertaining player in the league. And when they score touchdowns, he hands ball to kids and it makes their life and it makes their thing and they're going to go and put it on their mantelpiece. He is one of the best, if not the best role models in the league. So forget all that shite. We know what it's all about. I'm moving on. I hate that shite.
We do. Interestingly, Egg Rogue at I am Jibs, which is a great Twitter name, first of all, and I'm going to take a look at the picture now. I think it's the guy with the thumbs up in the background of two people snogging, which is great. At I am Jibs, that's Jibbz. He says, who is the most hated athlete in your opinion? That's really interesting. If you go across all sports, I don't know. I think you actually might have to look people that are like proven drugs cheats. I mean, look how popular cycling is. I mean, Lance Armstrong must now be quite a hated individual.
I think I don't know. It depends where you're on with him. If you're in the camp that everyone was doing it and so he's the best of everyone, then that's fine. If you're in the camp that he raised a bunch of money for breast cancer, you can kind of forgive some of the sins, or for cancer awareness, should I say. Maybe. But yeah, I think I think in terms of hatred, I'd rather go with irrational hatred. Because if there's a cheating, you feel duped as a fan. So I will understand that, particularly if you bought into the narrative of a cancer survivor, etc. of Lance Armstrong. I think irrational hatred is more interesting. Someone like LeBron James just hated. No really reason why, just disliked. Wayne Rooney, hated, no real reason why.
Because he looks like a potato.
Exactly, but it's irrational. But yeah, I have the same feelings. I don't like Wayne Rooney. I didn't know why. I never met the guy. So those irrational ones I think are more interesting than like the drug cheats and busted, because then it's a pretty clear reason why no one likes him.
Yeah, and I also have a problem with the word hate as well. I mean, and I know that we're talking
Sport
just
hate.
Yeah, we're talking in extremes here. It's ridiculous, but hatred is a word. I don't think I hate anybody, except for maybe the people who kill innocent people, terrorists and stuff like that.
And that guy sent that tweet about Cam Newton.
Well, maybe so. But hatred is such a strong word. They're all the tweet questions that I've got, Ollie. What have you got?
We got a iTunes review here from LH111. He says, really good podcast and great for fans like myself who are relatively new to the NFL. Being a Seahawks fan, however, the constant digs do become tedious, especially considering how piss poor the Packers and Rodgers have been most of the season. That said, Tom is a fun host and Ollie offers a lot of insight on a podcast which is educating as much as it is fun. Just the same common theme that you take things too far about one certain topic and you're entertaining and I'm insightful.
Yeah, that's true. And I apologise again. I mean...
You just did it 5 minutes ago.
I just did it 5 minutes ago. But I did it because somebody tweeted me about it. So I'm sorry about that. It was Daniel Negus. Blame him.
Message to Seahawks fans for a Patriots fan. Understand this. Take the mentality they hate us because they ain't us. It's very basic. Just deal with it, okay? I listen to all these podcasts. They call me a cheat all the time. I laugh at us because they're only doing it because they're terrible franchises, haven't been in the Super Bowl in decades. If they're Jets fans, they haven't even smelt the thing before, and that they just hate you because they ain't you, and they're just jealous. And so just take it. They call you glory hunting fans because most of them are. If that's not you, then don't buy into it. Don't get upset by it. If it is you, own it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's true. I mean, we could do a podcast on how to deal with success because it's not an easy thing to deal with. Not that I know how to deal with success. I apologise to Seahawks fans. I don't mean to get at you, and I don't hate you by any means as well. I think you're a successful team, and I think you were great to watch. And admittedly, I'll let you in on this sneaky little secret. One of the reasons why I said previously that one of the greatest upset victories in the postseason was that Seahawks win over Seattle, because that's one of my favourite plays, if not my favourite play of all time. That run by Marshawn Lynch. Absolutely love it.
If we have a intelligent listener who knows how to use a computer and stuff, can they look up what the biggest percentage swing is of expected win percentage in the playoffs? I think it might have been your game with the Seahawks last year, but I'm not sure. I'd be interested to know that. If someone knows that, send it to us.
Yes, we didn't half balls that up. Thanks for reminding me. Anything else, Ollie?
No, nothing else on my end.
Okay, nothing else on your end. That's a shame. Right. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you've absorbed everything from Conference Championship weekend. We will be back with you as and when. Not 100% sure yet, but obviously as we approach the Super Bowl, we'll be talking lots of Super Bowl stuff, and we will figure out what our schedule is going to be getting back to you over this weekend. But we hope you enjoy your weekend. We hope you enjoy the Pro Bowl, of course, as we go Irvin against, who is it, Rice?
I have no idea.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, we've had another question just tweeted in from Oliver Inwards. He says, is Gronk the best tight end ever already?
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%. Now, Tony G, give him his props and paving the way. And Antonio Gates paving the way for the likes of Gronkowski, but it's not really even close.
I don't think it's close at all. He is the best. And what was interesting there about the game on Sunday was some moments of him talking to Tom Brady, and you thought, this is the best quarterback with the best tight end of all time. Mm-hmm. Talking to each other, and that's kind of cool to see. But for now, there you go. please keep getting in touch with us. Hashtag MCFS, at ThomasMoore27, at Ollie Connolly. And remember, you can find us contact@thereadoptional.com. If you're a Hall of Famer, check out the website. We preach to you. Check it out. But for now, it's goodbye from Ollie.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Please stay in the warm, stay out of the rain.